Yeah, so we have this composting area on the ridge of the water. And what I have to do is, because I have such little soil, is I need to plant this area. And planting it with life will give me more green matter. And I have a real hard time getting soil here in Ecuador. So I basically will plant this area up with extra life, extra green growth to get more topsoil. So in between these twigs and sticks and leaves and decomposing material, I've planted willows and other plant material just to get more green matter. And it's very interesting how much extra material you can grow on top of your own compost pile. Very unusual process, but I'll tell you, you can, get another 20% of green matter on top of your own compost pile. Yeah, so I have this entire area here that is decaying leaves, decaying compost, lots of weeds from the garden. And I always like to plant stuff inside here. And there's enough living material for these pumpkins to start growing here. You just need to get them into enough of a material that they'll start to germinate. They'll fall in between these twigs that we've composted, and there's enough dirt here to get them to start germinating. And what happens is I get a huge amount of extra green matter that I can use to create more compost. Another thing that is really important to understand is when these root systems of this pumpkin seed goes into this decomposing material, it actually creates a process of speeding up the decomposition, because the roots are working in between the openings and actually helping decompose this material. It definitely works if you do this. And you don't have to put them in the ground too much, especially with pumpkins or anything that is really good as ground covers. They will germinate and do their job. There's absolutely no question about it. They will start to grow, and each seed will produce up to 50 pounds of green matter that probably decomposes back into 5 pounds. So you're gaining 5 pounds of organic material from every seed, especially if you let them grow big. And another factor is, if you have places in your garden, on the edge of your garden, that is completely unproductive or unsightly, use something that will allow you to grow green matter and to be able to harvest it. So this is a great way for somebody to make extra soil, and you might even be able to harvest some pumpkins out of this in this area that is unused. Just make sure the seeds are covered. You don't have to do too much more. And you'll see how this will take over this entire space, and it'll help in you getting more material, green matter, and it'll help you with decomposing this material that's already starting to rot. Yeah, here we have another example of this growing material on top of compost. This is alfalfa, and this underneath here is compost. We put about 50 pails of fig fruit inside here. And this activity of growing on top of the compost, this alfalfa will send its roots into the fig fruit and help it decompose. It'll grab the nutrients out of the figs and bring it to the surface. So when we chop down this alfalfa, All the nutrients from the fig fruit will be inside this vegetation. So it's a win-win situation. We're getting more green matter growing on top of compost. The roots are doing an amazing job. They will just go right through all that fig fruit and help decompose it at a much quicker rate. So it's a double gain for any gardener to grow green matter on top of any compost pile. You will experience a really big boost in material that you can harvest out of a single square meter of a compost pile. You can also spread out compost over larger areas and grow ground covers on top of it. There's this little bit of a misconception that nothing grows on top of compost. That is completely wrong. Plant material or seeds germinate incredibly easy inside fresh compost, and over time they will decompose very quickly, and the soil gets better and better and better, and this alfalfa will keep growing higher and higher, and the roots will go deeper and deeper. So it's definitely something for every gardener to consider. Here's a really good example of growing plant material on areas that don't do well. These air plants will grow really well in this area here, and they will actually survive almost anything. But by growing them, I have all this green matter that I can harvest if I need to. And these plants are conditioning the soil really well, even though they're very loose to the surface. But they do go into the ground and do a great job of processing the soil and improving the soil. So just remember, anytime you have an edge of a property that is questionable, try to get, pumpkin seeds or parsley seeds or alfalfa seeds or something growing on the edge of your property, so it's productive, working, creating green matter, and it's alive, which is really important to have stuff growing everywhere on your property to keep that energy going that is so important for any garden to flourish. It's actually very interesting. If every gardener had a very simple policy or philosophy that every square inch of their garden, and that includes compost piles, are covered with green matter or life. What happens is when you have a compost pile covered with green matter, there's less CO2 coming out. There's absorption by the plant roots of the carbon dioxide. It'll protect the earth a lot more if you actually are growing stuff directly on top of your compost. So remember, if you're looking at soil, bare soil, as an open wound in your flesh, make sure to cover it. Make sure to sew it back together. Keep your earth covered like a button, like a shirt, so you don't have any sun burning your skin. If we have that policy of keeping our gardens completely airtight with vegetation, then you've gone a long way towards creating an immensely beautiful garden.